thank you all again for joining. Again, my name is Makeeda Bandele-Asante. I'm a registered dietitian with Eatwellexchange, and today we'll be going over some diabetes management tips during the holidays with the focus on cultural foods. All right, just reviewing some of the topics we'll be going over today. We'll do an intro on who Eatwellexchange is, what we do. We'll talk about the importance of food and culture and all the roles that food plays outside of nutrition. Then we'll do a review on carbohydrates or carbs, which are the nutrients that if you have diabetes or if you have a loved one who does, you're familiar with a lot of the guidance and information you get from your providers or online about, carbohydrates, sugars, starches, what they are, what to eat, what not to eat. Then we'll go into the importance of fiber and protein and balancing your blood sugar and just having a balanced diet. And sometimes when we think about cultural foods that might not be a part of the standard American diet, we might not think of these nutrients that are so vital to our health. But fiber, of course, is one nutrient that's super vital and present in cultural foods. Then we'll go into some tips for those with a sweet tooth. Personally, I have a savory tooth. And review some additions and enhancements we can add to our sweets and our sides during the holidays to help keep our blood sugar in control. Then we'll review portion control year-round and what it looks like to have a balanced plate all throughout the year. And then we'll do a little recap and Q&A section at the end. There's also a poll at the end, and we just ask you to please participate in it so we can kind of get a feel for what you enjoy about it, if you'd like to participate in more virtual events like this and so on. So again, this presentation is brought to you by Eatwellexchange. Eatwellexchange is a nonprofit organization, and we partner with folks across the country, health professionals like dietitians, doctors, health advocates, folks in policy, and we really center the importance of cultural foods and nutrition. This can go from, as you see in the pictures, cooking demos in the top left, in the bottom left, tabling events, community programming, health fairs. We really try to center the importance of culture across the African diaspora and cultures throughout the world, and remind all of us that, even though we might not see these foods super frequently on TV or maybe in our doctor's office, we might not be told or encouraged to eat foods that are from our cultures, but there are a lot of nutritional and other benefits that are a part of these foods. So here we have the Instagram at Eatwellexchange if you'd like to follow us. And we also have our email there where you can read, or excuse me, our website there where you can read more about Eatwell, and also our email is there as well. So you can submit a contact form to get in contact with us to let us know if you'd like, us to do more events like this, if you'd like for us to maybe attend one of your events or partner with you or someone in your network. So please feel free to reach out. I'm Makeeda, your facilitator. Also am one of Eatwell's virtual assistants, and also, of course, a fellow dietitian. I am Caribbean American. Part of my family is from Trinidad and Tobago, one side, and the other half was rooted in the South, Mississippi and the Carolinas. I'm based in Washington, D.C., but I spent 10 years up north in New England. So I do feel, pretty cultured and experienced in different parts of the country. I'm a farmer. I grow food, which I really, really enjoy. I got the chance to do a lot of that this summer at a local nonprofit in DC called DC Greens. This topic is really important to me because many of my family members have been diagnosed with diabetes and heart disease. So it's really important for me to do work like this to just educate and encourage folks who can relate to this, because food is such an important part of our lives and our cultures, no matter where you're from. So it's super important for these conversations to be had. My favorite cultural food is roti, which is from Trinidad, and greens, collard greens from here in the US. The Southern US specifically. On the bottom, I have my Instagram where you can follow me and kind of keep up with some things that I have going on. So let's get started. Food and culture. As I mentioned before, traditional foods are central in our identity, especially during the holidays, because that's a time where folks are brought together to see loved ones you might not see all year. You might only see them once or twice a year, if that. So food is, a center and a cornerstone of these experiences. Food connects us to our roots, our history, and a lot of the foods that we eat and prepare, they're not just, just a random food that we just go in the grocery store and we chose to eat. They represent resilience and adaptation of our ancestors. And a lot of times the recipes are passed down from generation to generation, so they hold even more importance to us. So it's super important for us to maintain our culture and also maintain the nutritional integrity of the foods that we're eating, which is super doable while maintaining those cultural foods. Sorry about that. All right, food and culture again. Imagine, being from a specific culture, whether it's here in the US, in the South, in the West, up north, from the Caribbean, from a country in Africa, or anywhere in the entire world, and you've been eating certain foods throughout your whole life in different varieties, depending on who's making it. And then one day you're told that you've been diagnosed with diabetes and that you can no longer eat any of the foods that you were eating before. I'm sure part of you will be a little sad and, kind of maybe not understand why am I cutting out, this entire part of myself when maybe some of these foods I've seen made in other ways and other cultures and they might not be considered unhealthy. So again, let's just get into some of those things to stay mindful of when eating foods from your culture while also maintaining your nutritional health and managing diabetes. So what are carbohydrates? What are carbs, sugars, starches? These are all common names for carbohydrates, but really, to put it simply, they include fruits, vegetables, starches like ground provisions, that's the name for it in the Caribbean, grains, and milk products. As you can see on your screen, you see pumpkin, you see greens, tomatoes, cabbage, plantain, you see starches like breads, cereals, and then you see dairy, which can include some carbohydrates depending on it, especially in milk. Sometimes milk might not be looked at as a carbohydrate, but it is. And it's also in cheeses, eggs, and things like that. Carbohydrates are important for everyone, not just if you have diabetes or if you don't, because it's the body's first choice of energy. So our brains need it, and our skeletal muscles specifically need it because, like I mentioned before, it's the body's first choice of energy. So when you have to run, maybe something's going on, maybe you have a toddler to run after, or maybe you left something on the stove and you have to run to get it, our muscles need that energy. So it's really important to keep carbohydrates in our diet, and there are various forms of them. So we'll get into the differences and how we can maintain balanced plates with carbohydrates. So first we have sugars. Sugars are those simple carbohydrates in things like fruits, milk, non-starchy vegetables, and processed foods. They occur naturally, of course, in those foods, the sugars in fruits and milk and vegetables. But in processed foods, they're added or they might be manipulated in some way. And then we have starches, which I think is a word that's more popularly used when discussing carbohydrates and diabetes management. So those are included in grains, beans, and starchy vegetables like sweet potato, corn, that toughness. And that toughness is also associated with fiber, which we'll get into later. And as you can see in these pictures, there are several foods that you might recognize that you might eat on a holiday, like stuffing or dressing. You can drop in the chat what you call it. I'm used to the name dressing for my fam, rooted in the southern United States, but let us know what you call it. Mashed potatoes, pastas or pasteles, or a food that is corn-based on the outside with meat and protein, and maybe even cheese on the inside. And then little appetizers that your family or maybe a party you've attended for the holidays might include, that is kind of like your dinner on a cracker. So you might have turkey on there, some cranberry sauce, and what have you. So these are some examples of sugars and starches specifically. But again, what about fiber? Fiber is a carbohydrate. You might not think about fiber as a carbohydrate or think of it existing in the foods that you currently eat, because I honestly think it's one of the underrated nutrients. You might have been told to eat your fiber, but again, fiber is located in our culture of food. So on the bottom we have chickpeas or chana, which is what we call it in Trinidad, nuts and seeds, oatmeal, Brussels sprouts. These are all foods with fiber in them. And I'm sure you've heard of some benefits of fiber. You know, it clears out your digestive tract of obstructions to ensure proper digestion. It feeds your gut microbiome. It lowers your risk of colon cancer. It even can bind to cholesterol to bring it out of your body, which keeps your heart healthy, your blood healthy all at the same time. So definitely focus on fiber in your diet. Some folks might benefit from eating more fiber, others less. But here we have a dietary recommendations for fiber based on age. So you see your age, your life stage group, male, female, and you can kind of align your diet with this guide. If it works for you, feel free to take a picture or ask your doctor or dietitian maybe what might be best for you. But it's super important to get that fiber in because fiber helps to slow the absorption of sugar, starches, and just general carbohydrates in your body. And this can lead to more managed and balanced blood sugar. Here are some carbohydrates in everyday foods. We have some injera on the left, which is traditional in Ethiopia, tacos, baked potato, rice, and beans. And these are meals that have fiber in them. So it helps to slow that absorption of sugar, which helps to manage your blood sugar. We see things like beans, lentils. We have some veggies on the side, some stewed vegetables. Of course, you can really, customize these meals to your liking. But balance is really important in diabetes management and just in nutrition in general. So, here are some traditional foods you might eat. Just know that, it's traditional and also providing your body with a lot of benefits. All right, holiday foods and carbohydrates. Again, holiday foods are often high in carbohydrates due to the central role that grains play in our diet, nutritionally, but also just culturally. I mean, carbohydrates can provide a feeling of warmth and comfort. They can be sweet, like desserts, or sweet beverage, like coquito or sorrel. It can be hot or cold. It can feel like a warm hug, maybe as an appetizer throughout the day while you're waiting for your meal, or just at the main meal itself. So it's important to recognize that carbohydrates aren't going anywhere. So let's get more into how we can keep our holiday plates balanced. All right, here we have my plate. You might be familiar with the term the pyramid, the food pyramid, but in 2011, the USDA established my plate. It's a little bit more inclusive, and here you have a picture of it. So you can kind of visualize one way to plan your meals. On the left side, you see fruits and vegetables. And during the holidays, it can be maybe a coconut tart or cranberries in the cranberry sauce, apple and apple pie. It can be a vegetable like callaloo greens, plantain, pumpkin, sweet potato, green beans, and collard greens. On the right side, we have your grains, about 1/4 of your plate, which also, again, include carbohydrates, but typically are paired with protein or fiber. So you have, for example, stuffing, you have macaroni, rice, sweet potato, and provisions, those ground vegetables like plantain. And then on the bottom right, roasted meats like your turkey, your ham, the eggs in your pastry, stewed meat, and beans. So some of these foods, fall in different categories at one time. Like, for example, beans are sometimes considered a protein or sometimes considered a carbohydrate because of both of those nutrients being present in them. But, just use this picture to kind of guide yourself in everyday meals and during the holidays as well. Let's see. So again, managing diabetes during the holidays with traditional foods. Your meals can be adapted to have smaller portions and balanced pairings to help maintain your blood sugar. Here we have a picture of some measuring cups, which isn't always necessary if you get more comfortable with eyeballing, using the palm of your hand to kind of portion control. But it can be a way if you're really trying to manage your diabetes in a elevated way, or really just trying to get an idea of, okay, this is 1 cup of this. Wow, I usually eat 2 cups of this. Maybe I didn't even notice how much I might be eating of this one thing, but maybe instead of 2 cups of this food, maybe I can, add an additional cup of some vegetables or some beans to help make my plate more balanced, but also still feel full and satisfied. So for example, we have some sweet alternatives. I'm sure some of us here are familiar with foods like the sweet and low, which is, a classic sweetener or sugar alternative. But there are other options for adding to your pastries. For example, stevia. It's sugar-free. It has a sort of bitter or licorice-like aftertaste in it. And it's sweeter than table sugar, actually, so you can use even less of it. We have vanilla, which has that marshmallowy, caramel, creamy flavor. And it's used in a lot of different products, including pastries. And then monk fruit is another natural sweetener. It has no sugar in it, but it adds a caramel and fruity flavor to your meals. So consider, in the grocery store next time you go, trying one of these foods as a sweetener in your pastries. Another good base for your pastries is Greek yogurt, unsweetened peanut butter or almond butter or any other nut butter, because it can maintain the texture and the creaminess perhaps without sacrificing some of that flavor. Banana and applesauce are also some unsweetened applesauce are some alternatives to add that sweetness factor to your pastries without the additional sugar that isn't paired with fiber. Here we have some savory side dishes. Like I mentioned, I'm more so into the savory vibe, but you can, make it sweet. Like for example, the cocoa cado pudding, which is cocoa powder and avocado blend. You can of course add what you'd like, milk, nuts, and it's creamy. It has the avocado in it, which also provides some heart healthy and brain healthy fats to it. You have, a sweet potato or a pumpkin smoothie you can make. Instead of maybe creating another pie, you can, use your pumpkin puree out of the can, or if you have the fruit or the vegetable, you can scoop it out and make your own smoothie with milk or protein powder, excuse me. You can add maybe some vanilla to it, some cinnamon, and spice it up in the way that you like. And then if you like plantain or sweet potato, this is one dish that you can combine to help, or even if you want to do regular potato, you can use regular potato with plantain. You can keep it sweet or savory. I like savory, the green plantain over the sweet, just out of personal preference. So that's one dish maybe you can blend, especially if you're coming from like a multicultural family. Plantain on one side, sweet potato on the other. You can combine the two and make for a really fiber-rich meal. Some ingredients that you can use to maintain that creaminess of some of your dishes are roasted squash, baked beans, sweet potato. You can roast them and then blend them up as a base. Nutritional yeast is one seasoning that I really enjoy. Typically added to foods to give it that cheesy or nutty flavor, like popcorn, pastas, rice dishes, really anything you would imagine maybe adding like a savory seasoning blend to, or cheese. Especially popcorn. I really recommend that. Avocado, again, is another creamy addition to maintain that texture in the desserts and just general foods that you like. It has a lot of benefits, including fiber, like I mentioned before, and those heart and brain healthy fats. So keep some of these in mind if you like when creating some of your side dishes during the holidays. Leftovers. I know leftovers is a really controversial topic when we talk about the holidays. Some people don't like leftovers. Some people might only do up to 3 days. They might do a week. They might freeze it and maybe eat it a month later. But food safety is super important during the holidays. It's important for us to store foods at the proper temperature in the refrigerator. I recommend under 40 degrees, and then in the freezer as well, under 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And I do recommend 3 days. So on day 3 of your leftovers, it might be time to maybe share before we get to day 3, or even freeze foods so that you can maintain the health of the food, food safety wise, and enjoy it later on. But this is just one aspect of cultural sustainability sustainability that we might not associate as being a cultural thing, but it really is. So again, some leftover ideas. If you have leftover cornbread, try pairing it with, some chili, which has protein in it, fiber, a lot of those micronutrients as well, like the vitamins and minerals. If you have leftover turkey, consider adding it to a salad. Maybe add some seeds to it, some veggies that you like. And you can even make your own dressing at home with olive oil, vinegar, spices, or whatever other oil you enjoy. Even avocado can be used as a base for creamy dressing. And then again, if you have leftover pumpkin, sweet potato, or really any vegetable or fruit, you could make it into a delicious smoothie. So I know celery is a center food during the holidays sometimes for stuffing, dressing, or a veggie dish, and that's a flavor that you can hide in a smoothie if you don't really want to drink it with apple and pineapple. So again, sustainability is cultural for a lot of us, and after the holidays, just be creative in what you think of ways to repurpose those leftovers. Here are some swaps or additions to make during the holidays while still maintaining your cultural identity. With plantain, I like to sometimes mix sweet plantains, which are yellow, with green, the unriper version of the plantain. The green plantain adds the resistant starch and the fiber to help maintain your blood sugar. I also like to roast sweet potatoes and yams because the roasting brings out those sweet flavors. And you can also spice it with cinnamon or nutmeg or ginger to maintain that sweetness to it, maybe adding less added sugar to it. Rice, mixing it with other grains like quinoa, bulgur, and of course, just beans is another option as well to keep that blood sugar stable. And when it comes to mashed potatoes, I know sometimes mashed cauliflower is recommended, but some folks really might not enjoy that. It's not, a cultural food for you. So if that's the case, sometimes butternut squash or another type of squash is for a lot of people around the world. So maybe try adding, some squash to it. And that can extend the dish as well for a big crowd. If you want it to kind of maintain the color, try like a yellow zucchini. But if you're, into maybe spicing up the color, you can add a variety of different types of squash and add your same herbs to maintain the flavor and to feed a big crowd. We have some more additions for your stuffing or dressing, perhaps adding whole grain bread with low carb vegetables like mushrooms, which can be a center for holiday foods. And then you can use cauliflower crumbles as a base for the low carb stuffing. So you can roast your cauliflower and use it as a base to roast again in the turkey or whatever meat you decide to use. For cornbread, if you'd like, you can substitute the flour with almond or coconut flour for a portion of the cornmeal. This, adds some, low carb flavor to it. Coconut milk is a center in a lot of different cultures. So if you like the flavor of coconut, cornbread could be a great way for you to add that flavor into your holiday dishes. For pasta dishes, I know there are a variety of ways to make them, whether it's in a casserole form, baked, stovetop. But you maybe try adding your favorite bean and adding some extra vegetables to your pasta. The beans and extra veggies will help you feel more full and satisfied while still enjoying the flavors that you traditionally like. And then finally, we have desserts. So again, there are a variety of different types of desserts you can prepare for the holidays. But again, maybe try using some unsweetened applesauce or mashed pumpkin for the base. For the crust, you can try using almond or oat flour or even that coconut flour we talked about before. And consider using maybe a crustless version or a lightly sweetened crumble to reduce some of those carbohydrates while still maintaining the flavor of your dish. All right, and zooming out of the holidays, balanced plates are important year round. So here we have 4, plates that could be on your table during any month of the year. The top left, we have tortilla with black beans. We have chicken for the protein. And then on the other side of the plate, half vegetables. So I see some guacamole, which is avocado, some tomato, some lettuce, some peppers. This is a cultural meal that can be maybe eaten in Central, South, the Caribbean, South America or the Caribbean. And many folks who aren't from those areas just enjoy this food. So this could be, a culturally based meal that is balanced that you can enjoy all year round. So right of that, we have some rice and beans, some chicken, and then half the plate, again, vegetables. So these are fresh, but of course you can steam your vegetables if you'd like. Saute, roast, cook them whatever way you'd like, but I'm seeing broccoli, onion, bell pepper, carrots. I think I see a piece of zucchini and also avocado. So again, year round, these are ideas for you to keep those plates healthy with the fiber, the vegetables, and the protein. On the bottom left, we have jollof rice. It looks like we have fish for the protein, and then we have a green base on the right for vegetables. And then to the right on the bottom, we have chicken, spaghetti, and a spinach salad. This might seem like a more, American or advertised meal for dinner time. So, it looks familiar for most. But it might seem like simple ingredients, but it's just as nutritious as any of the other plates on the slide and vice versa. So you can eat the foods that you enjoy in a balanced way all year round. And just remember, sometimes some of our foods, aside from the vegetables and the protein and the carbohydrates, sometimes oil can be a center stone for some meals, and that can add up. Just a tablespoon can add 15 grams of fat to your meal, and that can really add up if you're eating a lot of oily foods. And we need the fats for sure, for a lot of different functions in the body, but just be mindful of the amount of maybe butter or oil you're adding to your dishes. But yeah, just overall year round, try to move after your meals, even if it's just like a little walk with the family. Stay hydrated throughout the day on the holidays, and even year round, because sometimes we know the meals aren't ready when they say they'll be ready. And sometimes you might want to maybe not eat throughout the day so you can binge in the evening, but as you probably know, that's not recommended. You want to keep your blood sugar stable and also just have a level of comfort and enjoyment throughout the day, so you're not, hungry, really hungry when you're eating your meal. Try to breathe deeply after your meal. This helps with digestion and just, getting in tune with your body. And avoid laying flat straight down after your meal, preventing acid reflux and trying to maintain that digestive process after you eat. So just to recap, thank you again for joining us. Some points we talked about today is adding and enriching elements to your meals that you already enjoy. You can just increase, maybe like adding more beans or adding more veggies. Another tip is to bake in muffin tins for portion control. So this can go for savory foods like macaroni and cheese, and also sweet foods like mini pies and things. Maybe having one or two at a time in addition to your meal can help you just stay aware of your portion sizes. Pair your meals with protein or fiber. So if you want to have some mac and cheese as a leftover or later on that night, perfect, of course. But try to pair it with some protein, like a meat or beans, even if you want to have like a handful of nuts with, which might not be super holiday themed, or maybe it's a holiday themed mix. Try to maintain that protein and fiber in your meals. It can even be a side salad or extra veggies in that mac and cheese. Limit liquid calories, which I don't think is talked about enough during the holidays. But those sweet drinks, including alcohol, can add carbohydrates that seem hidden or invisible to our diet. So just be mindful of the liquid calories you're consuming during the holidays and just year round. And again, don't skip meals. You might think that skipping could maintain your blood sugar for later on in the day or just allow you to eat more, but it isn't advised. All right. So thank you again for listening. Based on what we've reviewed today, do you see yourself enhancing any of your holiday traditions in any way? If you'd like, you can unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. All right. I'm seeing some folks saying they enjoy dressing over stuffing, so that I can relate to that, just seeing that.
Oh, I'll add one. Thank you so much, Makeeda, for the presentation. It definitely resonated with me waiting to eat. I think that's one of those childhood things growing up where, we're cooking all day or just doing things all day. So you really don't eat until Thanksgiving meal. So that truly resonated with me that it's okay to, I know it sounds simple, eat breakfast, get a snack or something and just eat and enjoy your food compared to, you're starving by the time you eat your Thanksgiving dinner. Now you're overeating because you
Right.
haven't ate all day. So that truly resonated with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley, for sharing. Anyone else? All right, feel free to share whenever you like. Um, Wrapping up, I have another slide for you all. Thank you again for joining. Here are some ways you can stay connected with Eat Well. This QR code right here is a link to our Prevent Diabetes program. This helps us to gauge interest to see what you might be interested in attending virtually or in person. Again, have a great night.